Hello, everybody, and welcome to Perspectives. Good to have you with us today here at Rogers State Public Television. But a couple of quick notes I want to throw your way just in case you missed it. Uh, on the day we're taping, this story broke. There were 400 prisoners released, 400 plus, from state prisons considered low risk just a few days back. And as of today, 200 of them have already been put back in prison. We lost over 1 million people nationwide to COVID. Need to file that away and don't take any chances. We got another strain headed our way. And I have some incredibly good news I want to pass along from Cherokee Nation. There's a new album coming out. Now hang on, because this is really different and it's really important. It's a brand new album of all Cherokee language. So you'll hear today's music in Cherokee, in the language. And it's an effort by a young lady by the name of, now let me get this right. Her name is Lillian Charles, and she'll be singing it. A young, very talented Cherokee artist. So watch for that album, grab it, and you might pick up some cues from the Cherokee language through her efforts, so it's worth your time. Now, on to our first guest for the day. I had never had the opportunity to be a part of Boys State because my grades weren't that solid. But Jared Harrison is the CEO of Boys State, Oklahoma. Jared, good to have you with us, lad.
Good to be here.
Tell me about Boys State. Goes back, I think, to 1930?
Yep, about 1935, I believe, is when Boys State itself actually started. I believe in the state of Illinois, but it was a program of the American Legion that, think back to that time and what was going on in the world. You had all of the rise of communism and all of that going on in Europe and Hitler starting to come to power, and all of that was bleeding over into the US and starting to see some of those youth camps that were putting forth those ideals. So the American Legion, the largest veterans organization in the world, decided that we needed to have an American voice out there. So they started the Boys State program, and it spread really quickly. I think 1938 was the first year that Oklahoma had it. And we've had it here every single year except two. One was in the 1940s because of World War II. And then you mentioned COVID. That was the one other time we were shut down. But we've been going ever since then, trying to instill some patriotism and some leadership into the young men of our state. And we're happy to be bringing that to Rogers State University this year.
If I didn't know better, I'd think you are really a supporter.
A little bit. I've been around the program for about 20 years now, and it has been something that changed my life. We call it a week that shapes a lifetime a lot of times. And that couldn't be more true, at least for me. And I know a lot of the rest of our staff. For me, I was a delegate in 1998 and was fortunate enough to come back on staff that very next year. And I was the quiet delegate that kind of sat in the background, got to see the things happen, but the message didn't really click for me until several weeks later, and kind of started to get the idea of what they were trying to put out there and trying to get us all to realize. And then over the last 20 years, I've formed a lot of great friendships. Having Boys State on my resume, it got me into the White House as an intern on 9/11. So I got to experience that partially because of Boys State. It's made friends of mine that are stationed at the Pentagon right now. So I've gotten to go on cool Pentagon tours and just be involved in a lot of things that I never would have had it not been on my resume. So been trying to do whatever I can to give back.
One of the things too that impressed me, Jared, is Boys State survived Joseph McCarthy. Now, Joseph McCarthy was, for the benefit of the folks who might not be familiar, was an incredibly negative individual who decided that the communists had infiltrated all branches of government, all branches of entertainment, all branches of the workforce in and around Washington, D.C., and launched what he called what was called the Red Scare. And he went after civic organizations even. I mean, it was the most incredible thing, and yet Boys State did just fine. Thank you very much.
Yep. And that's a great point to bring up, that you talk about that kind of ideology of you know, you don't want to quite go out and say hate, but of being scared and worried about those things that aren't just like you. And that's our big message now is you see all of the you know, back and forth and the fighting on TV now. And
Hmm.
we try to impress upon the young men that come that there's a better way to do it. You can disagree with somebody, and that's fine. And it's probably going to happen,
Now, you guys,
but you can react differently.
you guys are going to be host held meeting. I'll get it out. You're going to be meeting here on the campus of RSU, are you not?
Yes, we are. For the first time
Very
in
first time.
35 years, we're not going to be in Miami, Oklahoma at NEO. So we had the opportunity to come visit Rogers State last May, right after our last session. And it's just such a beautiful campus. There's so much going for it from our perspective. Having that tie into the Oklahoma Military Academy is just phenomenal because that's a lot of what our history comes from as well. So we're going to be able to tie into a lot of neat things there in just at RSU, but even in Claremore in general. And Claremore has just been phenomenal in welcoming us so far. I can't say enough good things about the citizens and the leadership that you all have there.
One of the things I might suggest, Jared, while you're up here, is make a tour of the OMA Museum here on campus. It's quite enlightening and quite an eye opener if you haven't seen it yet.
Absolutely. That is high on the list to be able to do for sure.
Now, before folks at home think, well, this is just a big party for a group of high achievers, let me put your mind at ease. These young men will all be involved in building a form of camaraderie that virtually is almost unbreakable and will follow them for the rest of their lives. Uh, these young men will turn into middle-aged men, and they will stay in touch, and they will help move this country forward. I got to tell you, I can't say enough good about Boys State, and I'm so thrilled to know that you're going to be meeting on our campus.
Yeah, and we're thrilled to have it there. Like I said earlier, it's just such a beautiful campus, and you know, RSU TV has opened up its doors to us. They're going to help us with a lot of things, the esports facilities you have there on campus, and again, just the whole campus in general. It's just going to be a great place for us, and hopefully we instill some of those great values in the young men that make it up there this year.
Give us a list, if you wouldn't mind, Jared. What specific values are we talking about? Because some of the folks at home need a little more to hang their hat on.
Yeah, you bet. A few years back, we had a shirt made up that across the back of it, it said government leadership patriotism, and I think that that sums it up pretty well. The like you mentioned, we set up a lot of activities focused around learning how government works and how it operates by the end of the week, or
And
in
that's a
fact by
non,
about Tuesday.
Jared, that's a nonpartisan approach too, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We try not to put our own ideas on these young men because they're bright. They understand how things work and how the world works, and they have their own ideas.
Hmm.
And we want them to know that that's fine and it's acceptable. And we'll talk to them about how we feel about certain things. But at the end of the day, we'll all shake hands and say, hey, it's okay if we don't agree. We're still out there trying to make the world a better place and trying to help our fellow man out. And really at the end of the day, that's what's important. That's probably the biggest value we try to teach, is that being a
Hmm.
good
Hmm.
citizen, you know, giving back where you can, whether that's military service, community service, whatever it is, getting out there and trying to help others is what makes the world go around at the end of the day.
We need to point out too, there is also a girl state. So it's not that we're being partisan here. It's just this is the first time Boys State has come to this campus, and we certainly want to welcome and acknowledge the organization. Do you have any siblings?
I do. I have an older sister.
Did she make it to Girl State?
She did not. She was one that had opportunities all over the place, and unfortunately didn't go the girl state route. But of course, having the history I have with Boys State, I certainly wish she had.
Well, I got to tell you, I wouldn't be at all surprised down the road if we don't. I realize, I recognize you're the Oklahoma CEO, and I know you're embedded, but I wouldn't be at all surprised to see you end up in some sort of public service work down the road.
Well, hopefully this is the most public service I do. I certainly respect and hope those people that do decide to step into public service, politics, whatever that is, We've got to have those people because it's important to make the world run. But I enjoy my role here trying to help grow some future leaders. I also do a little bit of work helping municipalities, a couple here locally where I'm at, as their city attorney. So that's as close to politics as I like to get.
I don't, boy, do I not blame you for that. Before I let you slip out of here, what are the requirements of young men? We have about a minute and a half. What are the requirements of young men that might want to be involved in Boys State?
You bet. The biggest thing is, as you mentioned, we want young men that are in between their junior and senior year of high school. You know, grades aren't the most important thing. Your activity list isn't the most important thing. It's just that you've got a desire to come and learn, that you're not scared of the American Legion motto of forgotten country, because we're going to envelop that a little bit. But we want you to be willing to get out there and expand your horizons, challenge yourself, push yourself to potentially fail, because you'll learn from that and we'll teach you some things out of that.
And
So it's
Jared,
really coming in with an open mind.
I might point out that teacher recommendations would not hurt.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Teachers, counselors, whatever. Anybody is going to be welcome so long as they've got that open mind. But teachers' recommendations are high up there because they're what makes the world go round too.
Boy, do they ever. Jared, thank you. Jared Harrison for being a part from Boys State. We look forward to having you on campus. To you and yours, welcome, my friend. You do us honor.
Thank you very much.
You do us honor.
Thank you.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with more right after this.